Welcome back to Avocation Podcast, the weekly show on all things music related. I'm Ryan with Jeremy here as always.
How's everybody doing out there?
Hopefully everybody enjoyed Subatomic Stranger's interview and was able to fluently understand Nico. I don't think he was that bad to understand.
I think he did it. His English is really good, actually. Probably better than mine at times.
I wonder how well some Americans' English really is, because we speak so many dialects.
Right, and all the slang and shit.
Yeah, so like proper English, I don't think many of us really speak it.
Not in America. You're right, probably not in America, because we have everything all
Everything's all backwards.
All a bunch of jive shit.
Yeah.
But you're right. And everybody has like mad different lingos.
That would be hard to learn as like somebody who that wasn't your first language, but it'd be like one of us trying to learn Mandarin or something.
Well, wouldn't it
There's
be
like a million different dialects?
Like kind of like bouncing from like a New York neighborhood, and then you're like, all right, I'm going to go see what the Appalachians are doing, and they're going to talk totally different than the people in the Bronx, and then bounce all around.
But I wonder if it's like that, like if you go to Singapore and then Korea and then
like, all the
and you're like bouncing
Mandarin
around different places, and I just wonder if they have different dialects for each thing too. I'm sure they do. So it really can't be just us.
I just think maybe they don't stray as much as we do.
Could be.
Anyway, yeah, fuck that language shit, man. I'm good with English, and if I had to speak Spanish, I probably could pick it up fairly quickly.
Yeah, that'd probably be your next best bet of a language to learn.
Because that's their best chance of being around like Spanish speaking people around these.
I think that's the most spoken or second most spoken language in the United States, if I'm pretty sure. But anyways, we're not here to talk fucking Rosetta Stone. So this week we have a guest who I've been wanting to interview for a while. Her name is Jordan Joyce from the band Gallows. And if you've never listened to Gallows, I highly recommend them to you. They're listed as Appalachian punk bluegrass, I think, or punk grass or something like that. I don't remember exactly. I think both, really.
It's just a mix of all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but one of the coolest live shows that I've ever seen personally, and they just have a really huge sound, and they have a lot of fun doing it. And I've seen numerous shows of them, and they kind of try to mix everything up each different show to where
they're not doing the same thing every time.
Yeah, it's not like cut and dry. You're going to get this song here, and they end on this song. And I've seen shows where they start one song and fade into the next and carry into the next. And I've seen shows where they play like duets with like goddamn Gallows and shit.
Yeah.
Other members are coming up to play shit, and I don't know. It's just always been like a lot of fun to watch them live. So it's cool that we
very spontaneous.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So it's cool to me that we got the chance to interview her, and that's something that even like when we first started, I had Gallows Bound in the back of my mind as an interview.
Oh, but it was great.
Her single just came out today at the time of recording this. And Passing Ships is the name of it, produced by Bouncing Souls guitarist Pete Steinkoff, I think is how you properly pronounce his name. If he's listening to this and I butchered that, my bad.
She said it was right, dude.
Yeah. Well, no, she said the Plotnikov was right.
Oh.
But I'm pretty sure I got the other one right, too.
Yeah, probably did.
Because I believe she said it. But before we get into the actual interview with her and jump into our conversation, we're going to preview her latest single off of her upcoming solo album, which still is to be dated, but check in the interview and you'll hear about that. Unless you have anything else, Jeremy, I'm going to go ahead and play the song.
Yeah, it's a banger, and anybody out there that likes it, show her support, follow her on Spotify, Apple, same thing that you would do with us.
Yeah, And follow her on Instagram, check her out. Check out Gallows Bound and share the song around to get her stuff a little more well-known, because this is her first solo music that she's officially released.
And enjoy.
Yeah. So you're in New Jersey, right?
I am, yeah. I'm in Bradley Beach, and it's like I'm right outside of Asbury Park, New Jersey. But I just moved here in October from Winchester, Virginia, which is like my hometown kind of thing. So, but it's been really cool. It's nice. I'm like an hour away from New York City. It's an hour from Philly, and So it's kind of cool being close to that stuff. And there's a cool little like punk scene out here. So
my grandpa lives in New Jersey, but I can't remember. I think it's like Saryville or something like that, or Sierraville. I don't remember the name of actually, like how to pronounce it, but it's like a smaller town.
that's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of cool spots. It's weird. It's like, if you would have told me like 2 years ago, or actually really any time in my life that I would end up living in New Jersey, I would have
like, fuck
in your
no.
face.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Like, how did you go from Virginia to New Jersey?
So when Gallows Bound, actually it wasn't Gallows Bound. It was Gallows Bound was on tour in Europe. We toured Europe with this band called The Creep Show, and they're a Canadian band.
Yep, I seen Kendra play with a broken leg one time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they played some shows kind of like out that way quite a bit.
No, actually, I seen you guys play together. Actually, it was
cool.
Creep Show, Gallows Bound. Yeah, it was at the Magic Stick, I want to say, or the Majestic. One of the
yeah. We played a lot of there in like the Majestic Theater, and we did they did like Black Christmas and Blackout Barbecue and a couple different like kind of bigger festival style things there at that venue, which was cool because our booking agent at the time, she actually lived in Detroit, so we would kind of end up getting on a lot of those little fests and stuff. And
that's cool.
Yeah, we did the Creep Show tour. We did a couple tours with them through the US, and then we just became like really good friends, like total homies. Like it was actually in Detroit, or maybe it was in Chicago. We were playing a festival and they were talking about Europe because they go to Europe all the time and they have like a really good crowd over there. And I wanted to get us over there so bad. And it just like worked out. And they were like, hey, like, would you guys want to come over on this tour with us? And it was so rad. And that was our first time in Europe, was with the Creep Show. And it was like a bus tour. And it was just like the best, coolest thing ever for us. Just all kind of kids from Winchester, Virginia, like this little town in Virginia. Like we're like actually out here doing this, and but so I started playing music with Chuck Coles from the Creep Show on that tour, especially. Like we just kind of started jamming, like I was working on some songs. And so there's a lot of downtime when you're on the road. It's like, right. You're working for basically 1 hour and then everything else is just kind of hurry up and wait. So a lot of just like sitting around waiting to load in or waiting for the show to start. And so I would like
trying
play
to fall asleep.
Yeah, pretty much trying to fall asleep in random places throughout the world, like on benches and in van seats. And
but, a lot of hurry up and wait, basically, hey?
It's like totally hurry up and wait. Yeah. That's all tour is, It's like you're traveling around, you're driving like 6 hours to get to the show, you load in, you're hanging around all for that like 45 minutes on the stage. You pack up and just repeat. So we started jamming on that tour, and Chuck Coles is like a really amazing songwriter. He does some solo stuff and it's really good. His voice is super powerful and he writes really good songs, and he was in some other projects, and he was in a project called Organ Thieves with Dave from Sum 41, like up in Canada. And they had done some recording in Asbury Park, New Jersey with Pete Steinkoff from the Bouncing Souls. And so Chuck and I started playing, and then like Aaron and Justin from Gallows Bound also like joined in, and we started jamming. Aaron was playing upright bass and Justin was playing banjo, and then he was kind of messing around with pedal steel a little bit. And so we started like this little side project called United Snakes, and like Chuck was coming down to Virginia from Canada, and we got some songs together. And so we went and recorded them with Pete up in Asbury, and we had a really good time. Pete's like a great producer and just a really cool vibe being in that studio. And so then I brought Gallows Bound up there and we made a record. So we have a full record that like no one has heard yet, but it's done. We made a full record up there. And then
how long has it been done for? It's after Appalachian Witch, right?
Yeah. It was, I'm trying to think if it was pre-COVID. So like we had this whole record. We were like going on tour, and then like everything just kind of stopped,
Yeah, because I remember the Bones single came out, and I bought those 45s and was all stoked because I was like, oh sweet, that's like they're finally releasing a new record.
Yeah,
and
the song is off of that record, and it was made here with Pete, and like it's a full length. It's really rad. But then like it was like right as we were getting ready to put it out, we were talking to some labels, and then the whole world stopped, you know, and COVID hit. And so it just changed the trajectory of everything for everyone, you know?
Yeah.
So it's still like in waiting, and we're just kind of waiting for the right time to put it out, but we have it, and it's like fully finished and mastered. And I did a master for vinyl so we could like release it on vinyl too. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like, it'll be out eventually. We're just kind of trying to figure out what we want to do. And the guys, you know, just like life changed for everyone. And the guys some of the guys decided that they didn't want to tour anymore, you know, like being home and shifting gears. And like our drummer Rob had a baby, and like, so it's all really great, like amicable. Everybody's stoked for everybody, but you know, like, because we're not touring, we're just not really sure like what we want to do with the record. How do we want to put it out? Do we want to do like some hometown stuff or what, you know? But that's kind of how I got here, was working with Pete. And then I had such a great experience with him in the studio, and then I wanted to make a solo record. And I remember coming out, it was like Swingin' Utters and Bouncing Souls were on tour together. And I like drove up, I think it was Pittsburgh, and I drove up from Winchester, and I like talked to him about it. And he was like, let's do it. That'd be so cool. Like, let's make a full length. And I was talking to Darius from Swingin' Utters as well about like maybe getting involved. And he was into the idea too, but he's like out in California. And so I went in and I got the songs together, and like we tracked drums and bass. And then like that was like right when COVID hit too. like we tracked the drums and bass, and then we had that. And my project was like the next one in line, like once everything started opening up, you know? So I guess long story short, I ended up spending a lot of time up here working on music. And I was like, if I keep coming up here, I'm going to have to get a job, because I've been like living in this studio.
Right.
And he was like, oh, you should talk to Brian. And Brian is the bass player for the Bouncing Souls. And so like, you know, they're homies, like best friends. And Brian has a tattoo shop up here, and it's called Anchors Away. And so I started coming up and doing some guest spots in the shop. Like I would be, you know, recording in the studio, and then I would like pop in and do like a weekend kind of guest spot thing. And Bouncing Souls have a big thing called Stoke for the Summer every year out here. And they have like tattoo events around that. So I came up and I worked that. I just kept coming up here, and, you know, like it's a cool scene. And it's like I was in a tattoo shop with like musician and tattooer kind of world. And I just fell in love with the area, you know, and then the spot kind of opened up for me here, and I took it. So, but yeah, it's all pretty new, but it's been really, really cool. You know, it's cool to be a part of that whole scene. So
did you, not to say that you never wanted to go solo, but did you basically go solo because of the dissolvement or whatever of the band?
Yeah,
kind of like forced into it.
I wanted to do a solo record, or at least like an EP, even when I was in Gallows Bound, because there are songs where I was like, oh, this would be kind of rad with like an electric guitar or like some piano or like, you know. And when you're in a band, it's like you have like this structure, you know, and like we had like banjo, upright bass. Not that we couldn't like deviate from that, but I just kind of wanted to see like, what would it be like if I could make these songs just whatever instrumentation I heard, and like not really be limited to only having these specific tools in the toolbox. So that was always just like a fantasy for me. But, you know, being in the band and touring, and between like owning a tattoo studio in Virginia and touring as much as we were, I never had the time to really like see that through, you know?
Right.
I think that like the way things unfolded with the world, and then, yeah, like the band kind of deciding like, obviously if we're not touring, we have a lot more time on our hands, because that was such a huge part of our lives. And, you know, you can't do much of anything else when you're on the road.
Well, so, it seems, you know, like I've seen obviously before in other bands where, like you said, somebody has a kid, or everybody, there's always going to be the 2 or 3 people that, you know, still want to tour, still want to put out music. And
plus the more people in the band, the more chance of that happening.
Right, because you have more people to lose.
And we're like a family, you know, like we had known each other, like we all kind of grew up together. And it's not one of those projects where like oh, this person doesn't want to do it anymore, we're just gonna find someone else. Like, it's like, it was always just very like
life happens.
Yeah, it was always very pure and like with love. And it was like we made that thing together, and it wouldn't have felt right to like have someone leave and bring somebody else on. Like, it was just like, we'd rather just like kind of not necessarily go our separate ways, but we'd just rather put it down than like continue on and bring new people in,
Oh, so, no, I get it totally. I think that's like, it was never honorable,
a business, you know what I mean? Right. It's like it was like a bunch of people doing it because we loved it. And I think as soon as you start to like, if you bring other people in, or if it starts to feel more like a job, it just changes everything. And I mean, it is a job, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, it's cool because I think that dynamic is like part of you guys' live performance, because I've told many people this. Like, I've seen a lot of fucking bands live, but Gallows Bound is top 3 of like all-time bands I've ever watched live.
Oh, and that's so cool.
Just because you guys have so much fun like while you're up there. Like I said earlier, I live about 4 hours north of Detroit. From it was either late 2015 or early 2016. From then until I want to say 2018-19, I drove to every single show that you guys did. I think I missed one, but other than that, for like 4 years,
man, pretty much so awesome.
At every show. So cool. And I always tell people, like, if you ever get the chance to see, like, go check out this band live because it'll blow you away. And the first time I seen you guys was at, I think it was Blackout Barbecue, like a very early one.
Yeah.
And Coffin Cats were playing, and I think legendary Shack Shakers, but I might be mixing up a show.
Yeah, I remember that show. And the Shack Shakers played on the floor. Remember that?
Because they were in the bigger side.
Yeah, then, totally.
There was like a big fight in the middle of the crowd between 2 guys' girlfriends or something. It was like right in front of me. And
that's weird that you bring up the Shack Shakers, because I was like, I had a Shack Shakers song stuck in my head for like 3 days, and I just listened to it this morning to get it out.
They're a wild band live.
Oh yeah, dude, they're awesome.
Yeah, cool people. And like I went on a tour I did a solo tour with JD Wilkes and Scott Byram last year, and that was cool. And then it's kind of fun facts, but I flew down to Atlanta to make a couple of music videos, and I needed like a band. Like, I'm like, I need some people that we can kind of have in video, because it's like all these songs are full band. And we actually got Rod, who was in the Shack Shakers for a long time, and he's like kind of like an extra in the video, which is kind of funny, but yeah, they're great.
Yeah, I think it was just me when I first like when you guys started, everybody else went out to smoke, and I don't smoke, so I'm just standing there like watching you guys warm up and do like the warm ups and shit and sound check. And I texted my friend, I'm like, you guys got to come in like right now. And then it was like me and that group of 3 other people that would go to every one of you guys' show. Even when you went to Grand Rapids, I seen you at Tip Top with Guttermouth, and then I think another Grand Rapids show too.
Probably goddamn Gallows, because I know a couple of those guys are like, I think, right? Was it?
Yeah. It was right. It was goddamn Gallows. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's really cool. Yeah, and it's like it's mutual, like that kind of love that you have for those shows, and like that passion. And it's like we felt the same way, like when we would go to those cities, and you kind of see the same faces, and it's just something that you can't manufacture, you know what I mean? It just happens. So it's cool.
What do you like better now since you've toured alone? You like it with the band, or you kind of like it alone?
I like playing music with people. Like, right. I think ultimately I went on the solo, even my solo project, like I'm going to be building a band with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I mean, you heard the single, so
right,
it's like full, like all of it, and
yeah,
so
you need that to go really, with you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. None of it really like made with the intention of doing solo, just me and a guitar. But I felt like in this in-between time of like, Gallows Bound touring and then putting out this record, I wanted to stay active, and I wanted to kind of get out there. And I feel like, if a song is good, you should be able to play it just you and your acoustic guitar anyway, you know, and it should convey. And I felt like I almost needed to like pay some dues and like get out there and do the solo thing, like just on my own. And I can do it. You know, I just did some solo shows in Europe, and, you know, it's cool. It's cool to have the ability to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not the goal. And I definitely don't prefer it. I mean, it's fun. You know, I can take the train to a show, or I can get in my car. You know, like there are aspects of it that are a little easier, but you know, it's not the goal.
Oh, it's way more fun playing with people.
Totally.
You just got back from Europe. This would have been your first 2 solo shows, right?
Yeah. My first 2 solo shows in Europe.
How'd they go?
They were great. We did Muddy Roots Europe in Belgium. So have you been to Muddy Roots in Tennessee here in the U.S.?
No, but I've watched like videos of that and like Farmageddon Fest and all that stuff when it was going on.
Yeah, if you're like follow that circuit, you know, in any way, I think Muddy Roots is kind of like the
big
on
one.
the top, all that, you know, in the forefront. So
you guys played there as Gallows Bound before, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
We played Muddy Roots. I think we played a couple of times, and then we did Muddy Roots Europe. And I actually did my first solo show ever at Muddy Roots Europe in Belgium, and that was like 4 years ago. And so, you know, when I got invited to come back, it was like
Nice.
It was cool. It was just like kind of a sentimental thing, because that was before I made a record. That was before I did all these tours, and so it was cool to be able to get back on the stage and do it again. You know, it's kind of sentimental. And Jason, like the guy that runs all the Muddy Roots, he was out there, and it was cool to just get to like chat and to see all these familiar faces, and it was rad. It was a good time.
The band that we just interviewed, this episode that got released yesterday,
Subatomic Strangers.
I was gonna say, speaking of the time, since this will be like Monday when people hear it, but
Oh, right.
you know what I mean. Anyways, the band we just interviewed was from Belgium, actually.
Oh, cool.
That was like our first international one.
That's so rad. Man, it's cool over there. I had a really good time, and I brought like one of my best girlfriends out there with me, and
Nice.
she had never been over there before, and so like Muddy Roots is like, it's like 10 minutes away from Bruges, you know, and it's just like really beautiful, and that's cool.
Yeah,
I
we
wonder
just
what
learned a little bit about Bruges.
What'd you say about Bruges?
Oh, we just learned a little bit about that from the guitar player. His name was Nico during that interview, and he was talking about how it's like completely different, because he lives there, and he was talking about different scenes, and he's like, Germany's where it's at, you know.
It's funny, like, you know, I was wondering about that, because when I went there, I was like, I wonder what the scene is like, if there's a scene here, you know, like when I was in
Right.
Amsterdam, we played in the Netherlands too, and we flew into Amsterdam, and like there were some cool little like punk bars, but I'm like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like everything's close together, so it seems like you could just like pop into another city. Or Germany's always, you know, when we played over there, they had a cool scene too. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think overseas your music's better received? Because I know it seems a lot of independent artists like are more appreciated in the areas you wouldn't expect, like Belgium or Germany or wherever. And I see it like across all genres.
I think that's probably true. Yeah. I think when you're traveling, and there's just an element of hospitality and like the interest, I think, that comes from being over there. And maybe it's because when you're in the US, there's like so much going on, and there's always music, and like I don't know if that's got something to do with it, you know, like maybe it's like
Like
more
oversaturated here, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's possible.
Or we just don't care as much as they do, like
I think they have
collectively
better,
as Americans.
right.
But they seem to have better festivals
They have
all
better
the time.
festivals, better taste. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, listen to the radio, and it's like all the same shit, and then original artists like yourself are followed and bigger overseas, you know?
I think that that's probably true. Yeah. I mean, I see that. And I wonder if it's like when you're an artist, like when the Creep Show, like people from Canada or the US that are there? Like, does it feel more like, oh, these people have come from a long way and like we're gonna check them out? Or is it like that just with all music over there? Like, you think they're just like more into it, you know, and more supportive? Like, I don't know, but I mean, it definitely seems like, you know, the fan base and people like they seem pretty passionate, you know what I mean, about it, which is really cool. So
I've heard Japan is very passionate about Americans too.
Yeah, I've heard that too, you know, especially like I heard that like the bluegrass scene, like surprisingly,
it's
you know,
huge.
because it's just so different, I guess. I don't know, but that there's like actually a pretty solid scene for that over there too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is cool.
So your new single, Passing Ships, will be Friday?
Yes, it's going to be out Friday, June 30th.
I like it a lot. I listened to it. I tested it on different shit because I do that. I like play it in my AirPods, and then I played it in my car, and then I played it on like my basement stereo, then my upstairs stereo.
You're checking the mix.
Yeah. Because I don't know, every area sounds differently, and I was playing it in the record store earlier. Like I showed my partner here, and I think like what's the guy's name that did the mixing? Mike. Plotnikov, yeah. Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You were
I
right.
guessed that earlier. I was right on.
And I'm horrible with names.
I think he did a really good job, like, bringing you and your voice front and center in the mix. And the band that is backing the Walker Rotors, is it? Yeah. I like how it's just kind of lightly in the background and your voice is, like, front and center.
Yeah, I thought that was cool, too. Like, working with Mike changed the way I see mixes and the way it's so interesting, like doing this solo project and doing it for the first time, because it's kind of like you're creating something new as you go. Like there's no rules, there's no guidelines to follow. But Mike has done so many just like really amazing records, you know, and it was awesome to just like hear and watch his process, you know, because I was kind of listening to the mix. I'm like, I don't know, I feel like the vocals are too loud. You know what I mean? Like it just seemed so loud. But then like he's working on things that go to radio, and he's working with like Sarah McLachlan, and he did like, you know, the Cranberries records and In Excess, fucking like Aerosmith, you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, I guess you know, you know what I mean? Like, I guess you know what you're doing. So it was cool to see his process with all of that. It's amazing how a mix can change a song too. You know what I mean? Like listen to a mix, and if it's not like, there are songs that I kind of wrote off. Like I was like, I don't know if I love this. And then like he mixed the whole record, you know? And so there were songs that like weren't my favorite. And then after he got a hold of it, it was like totally different, you know? And it's really amazing to get to see that kind of artistry in action. So I appreciate that. And I think it's really cool that you, like, obviously you're like a little bit of an audiophile yourself, you know, if you're like listening to it on platforms and stuff, that's cool.
Yeah, no, I like to dig in and compare stuff like that, but I'm a big fan of your voice in general because it has the right amount of grit to it, but it's also a very good voice at the same time, so it keeps like a punk rock feel into it, but also you have like a voice for radio at that, like you sing very well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's been fun to like do some of that solo stuff and explore my voice a little bit more. Like I kind of look at it like a guitar pedal, you know, it's like certain songs I can like turn up the gain or turn up the distortion or like, you know, try to make it like a little sweet and soft here and a little like dirty and gritty there, and just like whatever helps tell the story, and kind of like trying to look at my voice as like an instrument, you know what I mean? Like there's so many different ways you can play a guitar, and it's the same with, you know, vocals. So that's cool. And yeah, I appreciate that. And then the Walker Rotors, like that was something that came about with working with Pete Steinkopf as well. So the Walker Rotors is Ted Hutt, who was in Floggy Molly, and James Fearnley, who is the accordion player for the Pogues, and Mark Orrell, who was in the Dropkick Murphys. And then the pedal steel is actually played by this guy called Todd Bean, and he's not in the Walker Rotors, but he played with like Lucero and Chuck Reagan, and so it's like this really rad, you know, like coming from the punk rock world, like, you know. And Ted Hutt, who was in Floggy Molly, he's a producer out, I think he's out in California. But he did like Old Crow Medicine Show and like Nico Case Records, and he did the Bouncing Souls record. And so I guess Pete kind of knew him from that. And this was all like in the middle of COVID when like the world had stopped. And so we had time to really dig into these songs. And I wrote it, and then we were like, there was this big instrumental break, and we were like, what kind of direction do we want to go with this? Like, what would be cool? And he was like, why don't we ask the Walker Roaders, like if they want to do it? And so he reached out and they were into it, which was really cool, And so we just sent the track over, and then they like did their thing on it and sent it back. And I'm like a really big Pogues fan, and I have been for a really long time.
Yeah.
And so, getting that track back, and it was just in this time where like, I mean, we all know it's like, it was just such a defeating time. Like I had no idea like what was going to happen next, what was going to happen with the band, what was going to happen with my life, and I just felt so removed from music, which was such a huge part of me. And so working on the record was like, kind of kept me centered and kept me going. And I remember sitting in my house and getting that track back with the Walker Roaders on it. And I just cried. So I was like, oh my God, that's the accordion from Dirty Old Town, like from the Pogues, It's like, holy shit. Like, it was just such a moment for me.
Yeah, it's like dreams do come true, like that's totally. To work with anybody from the Bouncing Souls, like from my point of view, that'd be fucking epic to me. Like that'd just blow my fucking mind, like.
It was really, really cool, and it was really meaningful. I have a lot of respect for these people that have been in the scene for so long. Right. And they still, like, the coolest thing to me about, working with Pete and working with Brian from the Souls in two different ways, obviously, but is they just, like, they have so much heart in everything that they do. And it's not like, it's like they want to help people out. You know what I mean? It's oh, yeah. Let's do this. Let's get together. And it's like really actually creating the scene and this like solidarity. And, when you have people that have been in that industry and in that scene for so long, they still want to bring out, the up and coming band, or they want to like extend a hand. And I just think that that's like the most punk rock coolest thing ever.
Yeah. Cause they, they're not hypocrites, you know what I mean? And that's like a rare thing.
Yeah, like I think sometimes you can get people that almost are like gatekeepers. Like it's like, oh, you gotta, like I don't know, they don't want to share anything.
They could be dickheads for whatever reason.
Yeah, and they're just all genuinely like good people, and so it's cool. And yeah, that whole thing with the Walker Roaders was just such a surprise, and like never in a million years would I have like, you know what I mean, thought that happen. And so yeah, it was really cool, and that's like part of the reason why I'm just so excited to share it, and it's funny because the song doesn't have like, it's not like a punk song, but it's got all of these people that are like punk rockers on it, which is kind of fun.
No, I love that.
They're like a little punk rock supergroup pretty much.
Yeah, totally. So it's it's really cool. I'm super excited about it.
I did read that the album itself has like a star-studded cast of people. Are there any more people like on the record that are from that scene?
So I did a duet with Darius Koski from Swingin' Utters. That's on the record as well. And then I had like Ginty, the keyboard player from the Creep Show. He plays on one of the songs.
Oh, also earlier I realized that I called Kendra. That was my bad. When I said I've seen her play with a broken leg, but yeah.
And then Luke from the Dirty Nil, like they're a really rad band up there. It's a Canadian band too, and he did a solo on the record. Then Pete from the Souls, obviously he played on a lot of the songs. Like some of the next singles that I have coming out, like he did this guitar solo on one of the songs, and so yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I don't know, I gotta think. It was really like a big project, and like just getting all these different people from all over the place, because we were just like, we had time to do it. I wanted it to be like a production, I wanted to, to be able to it definitely is, but I wanted that, like I wanted to kind of create an atmosphere and tell the story, and like really I just got really into into production. Like there's just so much you can do, just like we're talking about with mixing, it's like you can change a whole vibe of a song in how you choose to mix it and how you choose to produce it, and what instruments are going to match this, this like environment that we're trying to build, to tell the story. It's like when you're painting the picture around the story, what kind of colors do you want to use? What kind of brushes do you want to use? And it's so cool to like be able to just have all of these different instruments and to tell the story in that way, so it was really fun. Just kind of going out and trying to find people along the way,
Well, if the rest of the record sounds anywhere as close as that single, I think it's going to be very, very well received. I mean, it sounds like when I first heard it, like 20 seconds in, I thought that could be on the radio. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
I mean,
I'm actually looking it to radio.
Like. Right. Like, I assume you are. I would. I mean, it's fucking crazy good.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And it's cool, it's like, I don't know how it's going to cross over with like, with Gallows Bound fans or anything like that. But it's super cool to, just to have that kind of feedback. And like, yeah, I'm working into radio in the UK right now. So that's kind of fun. Like before it comes out everywhere on digital platforms, I'm already starting to kind of like do that. And it's like, that just started last week. And so we're getting some cool feedback from that. And we've got some people that have radio stations in the US that are interested. And, that's going to be happening soon. So it's fun, just to like see how far we can like throw this thing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So thank you.
I mean, I think Gallows Bound fans will like it though, like, because you've done a couple Gallows Bound songs where it was just you singing and it was more of a solo type of song, and those were always well received. So I mean, why wouldn't the solo stuff?
Yeah, and we had like some different kind of styles too, it's like some of the songs were like, of course when we played live it was just like kicking down the door the whole time, you know what I mean? But like we had songs that were slower or more melodic, or it wasn't always just like that kind of up-tempo train beat stuff. Like, so you're right, I think people that really are fans of the band will like, I mean, no matter what I do, it's still going to sound like me, you know what I mean? So there's always going to be that element.
Yeah, I think it shows your versatility for sure as an artist,
Yeah, and that was one thing that was really fun about making this record too, is it's not like, there wasn't a specific genre that I was trying to stick with or like go for. It was just like, here's the song, and most of it is electric actually. So like this song, Passing Ships, is probably the most like kind of Americana sounding of all of the songs. Like a lot of the other songs are like there's more just kind of like rock and roll and like electric guitars and just all kinds of stuff going on. I got like strings and keys, and we were like working on one song and Pete was like, it'd be kind of cool like to do like French horn in this song. And then I just like went on this like wild goose chase to find a French horn player, and I ended up finding this woman in Nashville, and she's worked with like like Cat Stevens, and I think like just like all kinds of different people.
Like she's the one they call when they need a French horn player.
Yeah, she's like the one.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
But it was cool, and it was cool like working on a record like that and getting to support musicians that are not working. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Weird like stand still, and then you're having this like existential crisis of like, what have I done with my life, and like it was just really rad because a lot of these people have have like studios in their house or a way to, even if you can't play a show or you can't be around people, they have like little home studio things set up so they can record their track and send it back. And so it ended up like being this thing that became like across the United States into Canada, like overseas kind of affair of like people just like, sending them a song and then they would record on it and they would shoot it back. And, we got like Darius on there, like sent him the song. And so it was cool to be able to, create that. I don't know if that would have happened otherwise, you know what I mean? But it was interesting.
It's amazing how you can have an endless number of people on a record and nobody ever has to be in the same room,
It's so wild.
Yeah, it's wild
so
for sure.
Yeah, like people that you've never even seen in person. You know what I mean? But you can create something that's like lasts forever, and it totally changes like the whole vibe. You know, it's I don't know. I love every facet of writing and creating music. I think it's just all so interesting. So I can just like talk about it forever. I think it's awesome.
As a writer, I told my old lady this, like, the hook is like, it's fucking perfect. You know what I mean?
Oh, thank you.
Like, it's the song's very catchy. That's why I was like, man, this shit sounds like it. Like, what's our radio station is country one's like 99.3 or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was like, that's pretty crazy.
Okay, I'm gonna need you guys to like call in and request the song. I'd be like, you haven't heard of this person? Oh, you gotta play it.
No, actually,
yeah, send us a list of numbers, man. We can totally do that.
I have
it's punk rock, like DIY. This is how we do it. You know what I mean? Like nothing changes.
No.
I have a sort of connection here with the radio station, and I actually might be able to make that happen.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you could I think I sent you the same thing that is going out to all those radio stations, like in the UK and stuff.
Yeah,
got, like,
I know one of the like directors there, so I'll get in contact with her and send her the same thing.
That would be so cool.
I'll get in contact with you if I can make something happen with it.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be so cool. Thank you.
So does the title of the song, Passing Ships, have any sort of significance in any way, or is it just the title of the song?
I mean, I think it's just like the most visual element of the song, you know, that whole idea of like kind of something being there and not being fully seen, and like there being more to the story and connecting with something that is like kind of on the other side or just out of reach, but like feeling it there, you know? So I guess it just kind of came from that.
Okay. Do you plan to tour off of the solo album?
Yes, I do. So I've kind of paused submitting for tours as a solo artist until this music comes out, because I really want to perform it as it is on the record, you know? And it's like, it's such a weird thing to play solo, just me and a guitar, and I mean, you guys have heard the song, so it's like, it's so big, and it's got so much like life to it, you know?
Yeah, it was like you said earlier, you gotta have a fucking band.
Yeah, so it's weird to play it solo and be like, all right, but just like, you know, it's like in my mind, I know what it could be. And so I want to put this stuff out, and then I want to go on tour and play that, you know, and I'm really, really excited for that. But it's just like, this is the next step to that. So yes, I do want to tour it. But because it's a new project, it's like, I gotta get this stuff going first, and then I can start submitting for tours. So.
Do you have an approximate time that you want to release it yet, or is that still kind of up in the air?
So I'm going to release, you know, Passing Ships is coming out on Friday. And then what I'm going to be doing is like a series of singles, you know, and I'm sure you guys know with like all of your interviews and being kind of in the music world, it's like, it seems like that's kind of where we're all headed. It's just releasing singles right now. I'm going to release singles and just like kind of like riding this thing out for as long as I can before putting out the whole record, you know. And I've got music videos for the next 2 songs ready to go too. So I'll be doing some singles and then maybe a little EP, and then I'll be putting the record out. But I mean, the full record probably won't be out until maybe next year, maybe like the beginning of next year.
Yeah, I catch that strategy. I get it. That's dope.
It's the smartest way to do it, but as a person that like hears something and is like, damn, I want to hear the whole record now, I'm like, fuck, I gotta wait this long.
Totally, yeah. Well, and plus you own a record store, so you still have like an appreciation for an album, like start to finish, I'm sure, you know. Whereas like it seems like a lot of people nowadays, it's more just about like getting that single and getting on the playlist, and you know, like jumping in the algorithm with this song, or like people want to, you know, use the clip on TikTok. Like it's not so much about like sitting down and listening to a record, you know?
I guess it's like we like our music one side at a time, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know?
Yeah, I like that. when I made the record, I made it with the intention of it being listened to from start to finish. And I've always loved records like that, where like you almost feel like you're hearing like the the frayed edges of something.
Yeah.
Like
close your eyes and go on the ride.
Yeah, instead of like, here's the radio edit, like cut out all this, trim the fat, get to the good.
Yeah.
I get that idea, but I also love just getting to like just put on some headphones and just get lost in a record and see where it takes you. And so like the song that I did with Darius from Swingin' Utters, I actually like, one of the things on the record is it's like 13 minutes long and it's like 3 songs, but they weave into each other, like it never stops. So it's like, I guess like almost like the Decline from NoFX, or like something in that nature, where it just kind of like the song ends and then it just turns into something else, and you're like, it's almost like being a part, like watching a movie or something.
Yeah, so it'll take up like almost the entire side of the record and with like one big song. It's awesome.
Yeah, totally. And so it's like, but I love that kind of stuff. And I've almost thought about like, maybe I'll just reserve that strictly for vinyl. You know what I mean? Like I'll have these little single, like the songs that are going to come out on Spotify, they have to be kind of chopped up, but like there's a bigger story that's happening, and I don't know, I still love that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited about it. And I'm very conscious of it because it matters to me. So like, I'm going to be very methodical about like the way that comes out. I still love those little things, Yeah,
I love that you have the complete control of everything.
Yeah, it's cool. And, we did that on the Gallows Bound record too. Like I was like, how do we, kind of weave these songs into each other? And I've just always been fascinated by that kind of stuff. And then we started doing it live, which was really fun. It's just like taking one song.
Can improvise like all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's something that I think is really cool. Like it's like you want to grow as an artist, you want to continue. And sometimes I feel like the more you grow, the more you have other people that are kind of influencing your sound or wanting to kind of funnel you into a certain category. And so it is kind of cool. Like, I think that's part of the reason why when you hear debut records or early stuff from bands, it's like, sometimes it can be a little chaotic and it's a little different, but it can sometimes end up being the coolest stuff because there's no one telling you what to do. And you do have complete control and like total freedom to just kind of like experiment with whatever you want. And that can be like kind of a cool time. You know what I mean? Musically.
Most definitely.
And it makes for better music too, because you actually have your heart into the music instead of somebody trying to mold you into the blueprint to create dollars for this, that, and the other.
Yeah, totally. I've kind of encountered a little bit of that with like putting out these songs, or like, on the back end, I'm like sending them to certain people. And, it's like, what genre is it? Where do you want to go with it, kind of thing? And it's like, I don't look at it that way. I just look at it like, if you love it, you put your heart into it, it goes where it wants to go. And Mike Plotnikoff, the engineer that worked with all of those really big artists, it was like kind of intimidating sending him all of my music. And I sent it all to him. And he said, I think all these songs are really great. And it's different. They're like different styles, but they all stand on their own. And like, it's not in a way that would like slip through the cracks. So it's like, you might be able to do a song to like country, radio, but then you can do one that's more like alternative or indie or rock. And so that's cool. It's cool to hear that from somebody who's like worked in the industry with so many artists. Like, it might not just be one thing, but like maybe it'll be heard in a lot more different genres for that reason. You don't have to like pin yourself down to one thing, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that. I read something about Gallows Bound being called Appalachian Punk Bluegrass the other day, and that's the first time that I heard that. Talking about genres, It made me think of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, how do you describe it? It's like, that's kind of what I tell people. I just say we're in like a punk bluegrass band, because it's not, to me, it's not folk punk. But like, I know a lot of people would probably call it that, but I've never associated Gallows bound with folk punk, but we have been associated with it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that's just because of who you guys have like toured with and played with, because you've been wrapped in and intermingled with a lot of those bands.
Totally, yeah. And I mean, like, it's been cool. Like, you know, we play with a lot of bands that are like definitely like, you know, driving that folk punk scene, you know. But I think for us, like, because we came from the Shenandoah Valley and we grew up around a lot of traditional bluegrass, and especially like Justin, you know, our banjo player, he's like really kind of studied that stuff, and like he's really good at it, very technical. And so I think there was part of us that to like hold on to that, the technical aspect of it and the traditional aspect that we draw from. And that's from where, like, that's from growing up in the Shenandoah Valley and being in the Appalachian Mountains and surrounded by that. So like, it was important for us, I think, to like, I guess like to give credit where credit is due and like actually give a nod to that being a part of our music. You know what I mean? Like, I think that was why for us it was like punk bluegrass instead of just like folk punk.
Yeah, you want to be like, if you put the time and effort into research and appreciate all that, like you should be tied into that genre.
Yeah.
Not just lumped into the easiest one to throw you into. But I mean, seeing him play, you can totally tell that he's heavily like influenced by that, because his picking is nuts.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, like, even though like, it's like we set ourselves to, I don't know, I don't want to say a different standard, but like we were all pretty interested in that. You know what I mean? Like Jesse's like learning how to play like different styles, and I was like practicing finger picking and like, you know, kind of getting into a little bit more like flat picking stuff. And like we genuinely cared about trying to incorporate those things into our music, but also like in a way that's like, you know, reflects who we are, like bringing the drums in and like making it punk rock, which is like who we are, you know? So it was always an interesting thing. Like we never really fit in totally at the punk show. We never fit in totally at the bluegrass festival. You know what I mean? But we would just do all of it and we didn't care.
Yeah, but you were like the unique band that stood out amongst all of those though, which I think is what kind of made you a little cooler to me.
Yeah, I always loved that too. Like, I think I always thought it was cool that we didn't fit in no matter where we were, because whether you like us or not, you're going to remember us, you know?
Right. So the upcoming solo record, how many tracks are going to be on it?
It's 10 songs altogether. Like I said, I got that kind of like musical journey that starts out with that duet with Darius from Swingin' Utters, but it's 10 songs in total.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to hear that, dude.
Well,
yeah, I'm excited about it. I've kind of been trying to figure out how I want to present it to the world, you know, because like I can chop it up and we can just do the song with Darius first, and then I don't know how I want to do it, you know, because if you're like putting something out on Spotify, you don't really want to put out like one track that's 13 minutes long, you know, but I also want people to know there's a whole story here. This is just one chapter of a story, you know?
Well, yeah, and then like if you play everybody the first two, then everybody's going to want the third one, you know?
Exactly, yeah. I was thinking that maybe I'll title it like part one or something, so people know like there's another part to it, you know?
Yeah, or even like put that in parentheses if you have to at the end of the track, just so people know.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because a lot of people will just like put their shit on shuffle and just let it go wherever. And
right,
I don't know,
exactly.
Like, so most
that's
people
how
would
you
miss
discover
that.
things though too. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's good for things, but like for your day-to-day listening, like I'm just gonna say 10 out of 10 times I pick a whole album, not just I'm gonna hit shuffle here. I never.
Right. And like everybody's all into like getting on playlists, or like, you know, with the way Spotify or all these things, like they might just grab a song, and it's like, how do you convey that? Like, hey, there's a story here, you know?
Well, and coming from a punk rock world, there is so much that is not on Spotify. You know what I mean? Like, you got to go to Bandcamp or something to really like find the good stuff.
That's true. Yeah. And I think that's why I want to do like, I mean, that's the cool thing right now is like getting to kind of be my own record label. And I mean, I've been around, you know, with Gallows Bound, like we've, you know, hung out with a lot of people in the industry, and like same, I've just always been that person. I was the one that was like, trying to learn how to do this and do that and get here and there. And, so it's taking all of that information from like different labels and people along the way and kind of figuring out how I want to do it. But I still have like a love and a reverence for like full records and vinyl. And so it's like, it might just be like a treat for the people who really do care, like people like you guys who are going to Bandcamp and like you're kind of digging for that kind of stuff. And like it's cool when you get to find something different. Like when you take the time to research a band and you're like getting online. And I mean, you're right, that is the punk world. Like people passing around. I mean, how many bands did you discover from somebody handing you like a burned CD or like a cassette tape? Like
right.
That's like a big part of me. That's like the first time I ever heard Bad Brains was like on a Bad Brains with like Agnostic Front, like was on this like mixed cassette tape. And then like, if you guys ever did you guys ever listen to like Mischief Brew? It was kind of like Eric Peterson, like kind of like folk punk stuff, or like Against Me. First time I heard Against Me, it was like a really scratched up, shitty, like burned CD. So there's definitely something about that that's just like, I will always have a love for,
I was watching documentary on Max's Kansas City the other night, and there's like Jane County in there.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about how like Laura Jane Grace is like the next generation of Jane County or Wayne County, whatever you want to call them.
Well, when I saw Against Me, she wasn't her yet.
She wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know how to say that, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
We were like pretty influenced by like we had this like the Crime acoustic EP, like that kind of, and like way in the beginning, like I remember we had these like recordings, and I don't even know where you can find them on the internet, but it was like back when it was just the 2-piece and somebody was playing on pickle buckets, I think, and it was like screaming and playing acoustic guitar. And like there's one song that I just I can't remember if it was like Shit Stroll, but it was like a version of one of those songs, and it's like I can't understand any of the lyrics, but I want to cover this song so bad. And I like couldn't find the lyrics anywhere, and you're just like listening, trying to pick it apart. But
you don't want to cover it and then just butcher it on accident.
Yeah, like wait, that's not what that word was.
There was videos of this dude named Jesse Stewart all over YouTube for a while that were just basically him screaming with a mandolin, but they were all like, the songs were so catchy.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just like you can feel it. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like the first time I heard Against Me, I was like, this is just like pure like pure emotion, like totally unfiltered, like just like, and you can feel it. And it's crazy how much music has that power, and like
you for sure
understand the words and you don't even know what you're listening to, but like it just hits you.
I think it's all on like a vibration.
You get it. Yeah.
Definitely.
That's totally true. I had a conversation like that with that guy Mike, the engineer, where like we were talking about that, how you are like when you're recording music, you are capturing the vibration, like that's literally what you're doing, and you're kind of like capturing the energy of this moment, and like if you're conscious of that, I mean this is a little trippy, but it's true. It's like if you're conscious of that, like you are like kind of encapsulating this vibration, and like then it becomes like kind of immortal. Like it like goes out into the ether, and it's timeless, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think that's like definitely a part of it, if you're like having all of these huge feelings and like screaming into this microphone and just pouring your heart out, like as human beings, I think that like you can feel that, you know what I mean?
You can feel it. Definitely. I'm like an old man, but I used to like to mosh a lot, and you'd hear like the band wouldn't even be playing, and you just hear that ring out, and you just can't help it, but like you're running back and forth, like going nuts already, and they didn't even start.
You're just like, it's time.
Yeah,
it's time.
It's like, it's time to get down, bitches,
That's so funny. Yeah, I remember that feeling. The first mosh pit that I ever got into was at GBH and the Circle Jerks at the 930 Club in Washington, D.C. And I think I was like 13 years old.
That's gnarly,
I was wearing Chuck Taylors. So there's like not much protection there. And I just like, I jumped in, and I just remember like, it was like being, you know, in the cartoons when there's just like that ball of dust that rolls by. It's like people fighting. Like I just felt like I just got sucked into one of those and spit back out, and I was like, oh my god, what just happened? But it was like all that adrenaline and
Definitely.
But yeah, you feel it for sure. Like that's a thing.
We used to have shows in a barn, so that it was always dusty.
Or they punk shows?
Yeah, and hardcore shows, metal show. We had to everything always got mixed, you know.
That's cool.
So we've had, you know who 25 to Life is?
Yeah.
Yeah, they played in like what up here would be Wilson Township, which is probably like a population of like 600. I don't know, it's small. And it's still unbelievable to me that they played out there, you know, but you know,
that's so cool.
Whatever you think about Rick Healy, this was like a long time ago, but it was gnarly, you know what I mean? Like all our friends that were chicks were like moshing. It was fucking insane.
In the barn. I love that. Like the DIY venues, you know, it's like you get to see your favorite bands and it's just in like these super random places. Like we used to do out here, well, not out here, in Winchester where I grew up. We had like the scene was just so small. I mean, that's how we kind of all met anyway. It was like punk shows because like Jesse and Rob were in like a thrash band and Aaron was in a punk band. And then I was booking punk shows at the roller rink.
Nice.
And so like getting together, like that's how we kind of all met. But man, like some of the best shows I've ever seen were like that, you know, like at the ice cream shop.
Yeah.
And then one time we saw Mr. Brew came through on tour, and it was like the show was an antique store. And like I have a video of it. I'll like send it to you guys, but like it's just like this tiny little antique shop and everybody's like jammed to the front, like singing into the mic, and then like somebody's like like crowd surfing, and it was just so funny, man.
And there's all these like priceless antiques everywhere.
Well, they were like around, like it was like there was one little area that the show was supposed to be, and you know how it is, like when you're doing a DIY show, like you're like, oh no, it's not going to be like, you know, you always downplay it to the
I'm having a birthday party.
Yeah, it's just a birthday party. We just got some friends and a guitar,
family reunion.
Yeah, like nothing crazy. And then next thing you know, there's like all of these punk kids like slinging beer cans and like crowds.
That's awesome. You'll have to send that to us.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's really funny.
That is literally by definition, that is Bulls in China shop.
Yeah. But it's like long live the DIY punk show. It's like it's just, I don't know, it's just something special about it, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely a certain energy.
Played in many bars for sure over the years.
Yeah. So obviously you have a big punk rock background, but Jeremy and I were a little more curious about like what is some of your countryside background as far as influences and stuff go.
Yeah, like your vocal stylings and whatnot.
Yeah, it's so funny because like I think just from kind of growing up in that area and some of the like more traditional kind of covers we would learn and stuff, like you know, like listen to like Ola Belle Reed, and then Winchester, Virginia is where Patsy Cline was born and raised. So, you know, we would kind of like, I think there's a little bit of that maybe old country. And then of course, like growing up, I was like kind of subjected to 90s country. Like it was just like playing, you know.
Right.
I grew up like my dad owned a tattoo shop and my mom was like, we like lived on a farm at my mom's house. So I was like in like country world and in punk rock world, like at the same time growing up. So like,
you're
you know,
second generation tattooer?
Yes.
That's fucking cool, man.
Yeah. So I like kind of grew up in that world. And at the same time, like, you know, I was like in 4-H and like living on a farm and, you know, like, that's just like your radio country growing up. And then when I got old enough to like have more musical autonomy, that's when like, you know, I would say like, I didn't really listen to a lot of country music. I despised all of the like, you know, the kind of pop country stuff.
Well, yeah, you went from Travis Tritt to like Bad Brains and Agnostic Front, you know. Like, I can't blame you, man. That's like insane.
Yeah, you know, like when you start to like get your own, like, oh wait, I don't have to listen to this. I can listen to whatever I want, you know, and then you start exploring that. But, you know, I would say like, I guess the country side of, you know, when I was in Gallows Bound, like when we were doing that, it was just more traditional, like listening to Del McCurry or, you know, doing I did a split with Jake Orvis from the goddamn Gallows, and like he did a cover, which this isn't out either. It's another thing that like we have. I got a lot of music that I've made that's like ready to kind of come out. But
do you have a vault or?
I've heard like a few songs you've played live.
I have a literal vault. It's like it's like an old picture, you know, like one of those like oil paintings that like eyes kind of follow
behind it.
Yeah, and then when you open up the picture, there's a vault, and inside of that vault is all of this music.
Okay.
But don't tell anyone.
Yeah, we'll just cut that part out.
Yeah, definitely. I fully trust that you will cut that part out, and you will not tell anyone about my secret vault. So, but yeah, I mean, like with the song with Jake, we did he did like kind of his own version of Columbus Stockade, and you know, like just kind of that stuff, like the Doc Watson, like just more traditional and less of the like mainstream country, I guess. But I've never really heard my voice as that, but everyone else does. You know what I mean? It's like, I guess just because.
Yeah, I think it's just because that's where you grew up, so you have that sound.
Yeah, so people are like, oh, you got that country twang, and I'm just like, I don't know how to take that, but it is what it is. You know what I mean?
It's a good thing.
No,
I mean, like, not to sound like a businessman, but like, I just heard dollar signs, man. You know what I mean?
All right. Well,
I mean, that's how good it sounds. I'm not trying to, I don't want to say dick ride because that's not you, but I'm not trying to like suck up. I'm just saying, like, it sounds like it's good, man. It's that good. So like,
I appreciate that. And like, that was like, you know, kind of the goal is to like just make it as good as it can possibly be. Like, I'm not limited to a certain genre. I don't have like a, you know, so I'm just like, I want you to like it, and I want your mom and your grandma and your little sister.
No, for sure.
Punk rock friends, and like, you know what I mean? I want everybody.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you know, I guess you can call that what you will. Like some people might call that mainstream, or they might call it, you know, whatever. But I think the cool thing is it's like, I just want to make music, and I just want to put my best foot forward. I want to make it sound as good as I can. I'm not like trying to market it to a certain audience, or you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just want to sound the best that you can, and who wouldn't want to?
Exactly. I just kind of just want to do it and then just see what happens.
It's not your fault that you sound like really fucking good, that you could possibly be on the radio, you know, like, sorry.
It's not my fault.
You know, I was just born with it.
Fucking overwhelming talent. It's like, what was that Nicolas Cage movie that just came out? That was like the weight of carrying this massive talent, or whatever it was called.
I don't know.
It was like the most like narcissistic title ever, but it was sarcastic. The unbearable weight.
What is that from? Where did you hear that?
It was a Nicolas Cage movie that called like The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, or something like that.
That's right. That's funny.
I actually didn't watch it. I just remember seeing it, and I was like, that's fucking ridiculous.
It was a pretty good movie.
I would imagine it would be, but...
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's like, you know, that, like, the title's definitely a bit much, you know, but...
But that's what makes it kind of more appealing to me, because Nicolas Cage is like an A-list actor, but he does, like, B movies.
Right.
Which I think is cool, because he's like, man, you guys are all making the same movie in Hollywood. Like, let me... He was in this movie called Prisoners of Ghostland, where he was tied into like a bomb suit, and it was like a telepathic bomb suit.
Just
so,
won't
like,
let me watch it.
If he had impure thoughts, like his balls blew up or something.
What?
Yeah, it was a crazy movie. And,
is this like newer or older?
It's newer. And I was like,
oh my God, dude,
you're like, you did like Grammy. I don't know if he's won a Grammy or
leaving Las Vegas, dude. Like,
did he?
I don't know if he won anything, but he did that.
He's a huge named actor, so just to do something like that is like, it says a lot about his character.
Was it good?
I don't want to call it good, but it was definitely entertaining. Like it's,
Okay.
I mean, it's worth watching because it's laughable, but
All right. Yeah.
it's, I don't know. I bought it. I mean, but
If
that's
this
not
was a
saying much.
podcast about movies, I would vote Nick Cage to be like one of the worst actors ever. Just saying.
I think I know somebody that has one of those pillows that if you slide your hand across it, it like makes it all like colorful and whatever, and then you slide it the other way and it makes a picture, and the picture is Nick Cage.
Shut the fuck up, dude.
That's serious.
That's real serious.
It freaked me out the
That's
first
real
time I seen
serious.
it. I like sat on it on accident, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's Nick Cage!"
Yeah, dude, I want to do that to my wife. That's why I can't watch Nick Cage, because she fucking hates him.
Yeah, I don't want Nicolas Cage sneaking up on me like that
No.
in my like home decor. No.
No.
That would give me nightmares.
It's such a random thing to have.
And what if he was like his character in Wild at Heart and only sang Elvis songs to you?
Well, didn't he?
Oh, I don't know.
He
You've never seen Wild at Heart? It's a David Lynch. It's a David Lynch movie, so it's pretty
Wasn't
pretty
he
gnarly.
married to Elvis's daughter?
Oh, for a minute, yep.
Yeah, because he's like the biggest Elvis fan ever.
Yep.
It was kind of creepy though.
It's very creepy. I think they were only married for about a month.
Crazy.
I don't know, but
Yeah,
we're way off topic.
yeah, we're
here.
going
I'm
all
rambling
crazy.
on
Sorry.
Nick Cage. Sorry. I was just like, there were so many outlets to go from that.
This is why. See, like he knows what he's doing.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, he's like, look, I'm making people talk about me. These guys are supposed to
I
be
mean, I'm
talking about a
talking about
record, and they're talking about me.
He's gotten us for sure.
But no,
Psychological.
I'm really looking forward to the record. I actually I want to say it was 2016. I looked at it earlier, but now I'm blanking. A long time ago, I made an Instagram post because you had a video of you singing out of the back of a camper or something. And I was like, and it was just you playing an acoustic guitar. You were just singing. And I was like, oh, this would be sweet if Jordan made a solo album. And it was like years ago. And I don't know if you had already been planning on or like anticipating to in the future or whatever. But then when I heard about it like a few weeks ago, like when I got a hold of you, I was just like, oh my God, it's fucking happening finally.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, I remember that. That was like, no, I wasn't planning on it then. We had a break in tours and I wanted to like travel, and I actually took the band van and I like threw a mattress in the back of it and I went across the country and I went out to took it from Virginia to California, and I went to like Sedona and Grand Canyon, and I was in Joshua Tree, and I like stayed in this little camper out there and was just working on songs. But yeah, I mean, I've had, of course, like I write, I was writing songs the whole time. I wrote songs for Gallows Bound. So I would have songs that like we didn't record, and, I've got tons of stuff that just I feel like it's bound to happen eventually, but that's cool.
How long was that trip where you went on just driving out there and writing? How long was that?
I think it was like how long of a trip? I think I was gone for like maybe 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that.
Awesome.
That was.
How did that?
Done.
Did you get a lot of writing in, or?
Yeah, it was super cool. I mean, I took my guitar out. I kind of take my guitar everywhere I go, always. But yeah, I've never really done anything like that. Like just me. And I bought like a national parks pass, so I could just kind of be out in like all these cool places, and it was it was cool. I wrote quite a few songs during that trip, so
yeah, that's something I always wanted to try. I don't know if I'd do it exactly alone, but I'd take my girl.
It's definitely fun and super cool. And I think there's something like I feel like everybody should travel by themselves at least once in their life, like just do something, whether it's whatever it is, but it's just I don't know. It's a totally different experience, and you kind of get to like meet yourself, like wherever you're at in your life, you get to kind of meet yourself. I feel like we don't do that very often. And I think that that's part of like being a writer or an artist. Like you kind of have to make time to like actually be still and like drop into whatever that is that inspires you. So you can like write and get it out of you. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, if more people did that, I think the world would be a more peaceful place for sure.
I think so too.
I
feel
think
like
it's just people get caught up in the fucking runaround of life or whatever. I don't know.
And I think like we're kind of like, you know, in society, and like we're kind of conditioned to constantly distract ourselves from ourselves, you know, and it's really just about like, you know, what if, like, I think a lot of people, maybe they're not even comfortable just like being still and being with themselves, because you're just like constantly surrounded by like noise and, you know, flashing screens, and you know what I mean? It's like
you're too busy to even think like about who you are, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're afraid to be bored.
Yeah, or afraid to find out who you really are.
Yeah, that's like the most ever, you know? And I think that's so true. And like, it's kind of like all of the things that you're looking to get away from, like you got it, like you go right into it and through it. And that's really like where you find the most like profound things, and where you heal, you know, is by like actually like turning toward yourself, turning toward that thing instead of away from it. But I think you're totally right. Like a lot of people are afraid of that, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's an inspiring story. I'm glad I asked that.
Oh, well, thank you.
When you're writing, do you like to kind of be off on your own and get a clear area and headspace, or do you just kind of let things come as they come?
I think I have to be on my own a little bit. I used to write a lot in my car. Like I would just like go on drives because I feel like I could sing loud. And a lot of times I would write, there's songs on our records, like on the Gallows bound records, that I wrote like that. Like before I even picked up a guitar, I just would like come up with the hook and like the lyrics, and like where, you know, get acquainted with like where the song is coming from. You know, I feel like when you're writing or you're creating, like you have to be driven by something, like by some sort of feeling or idea, or you gotta have something you want to say. And so I think like for me, I have to be on my own so that I can hear that. You know what I mean? Like you can actually like give the song a space to like kind of
grow.
Right. Yeah. Be written. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it's like you're more of just like a channel for it, and you just have to kind of like get still and like listen. You know what I mean? And maybe that is just like listening to yourself or whatever, you know, but yeah, I think that's usually my process. And then I just will like demo it, write it out, and then just kind of like get into producer mode and start thinking about like, how do I want to build this, or, you know, that kind of thing. And sometimes they just kind of come. Like Passing Ships was pretty straightforward. Like I knew I wanted to, I think I wrote the chorus first, and I just like wanted to start with a chorus, which I don't normally do. And I thought that was kind of cool. Start with that. And it kind of all developed in like a day, you know, and it never really changed that much. So that was kind of cool. That doesn't happen all the time, for sure.
Yeah, where all the pieces fall into place immediately without having to, okay, I got this bridge here that'll eventually fill in something 3 years later or something, you know. Sometimes that shit takes a while to write. Yeah,
sometimes it feels like work, you know what I mean? Like when you're trying to put something together, and then sometimes it's just like, it just happens, and you wonder how much you even had anything to do with it. Like it's weird how that happens, but it's true.
Yeah, it is weird how sometimes like writer's block really is a thing. Like when I was in high school, I used to write songs all the time, and I don't know, sometimes you'd be like cranking them out, and then other times you can't even barely write your name on a piece of paper.
Yeah, totally. And like there's no rhyme or reason. There's no right way to be an artist or a writer, you know what I mean? So it's kind of cool to hear different people's processes, and some people look at it like a job, you know, and they sit down and they like every day they put a drop in the bucket towards that, and other people are just like kind of wild and crazy with it, and like, you know, just can like write a whole song in a session, one sitting, or I don't know. It's cool. Like there's no rules, you know, like it's all just art.
Yeah. So you said you like to sing in the car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who doesn't, man?
No, I do too, but I don't. You know, I don't have this voice. Like my car singing is like, you know, Terry Crews in White Chicks when he's singing.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like at the stoplight. That's more along the lines of that. But I was gonna ask, like, when did you discover that you could sing?
I don't know. I got I got my first guitar when I was 9, and it was like a little acoustic, like 3/4 size classical acoustic guitar with like nylon strings. And I think I would I wrote songs then, and sang a little bit. So I don't know when I realized I could sing. I think I was always when I was really little, I loved it, and I would just sing, like kind of pretend like on my own. And then when I got older, I was like more timid. And in Gallows Bound, like I used to be like very shy and kind of like in the back, And when we first started, we switched instruments. Like I was playing mandolin when we first started the band, and then everybody played different instruments. Like Jesse played upright bass, and Aaron would play guitar, and we'd switch around, and I would just do like harmonies. Like I was so scared to sing in front of people. And so I was just like very quiet, kind of in the back. And then like I just kept writing more, and like people were like, oh, you should sing more, and like I kind of slowly got out there. So I think I knew I could sing for a while, but really having the confidence to sing and like get out there. I think I was a singer before I was like a performer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can sing in my car all day, but like getting on stage or singing in front of people, like it took me some time to really like develop that,
Yeah, it's two totally different art forms.
Yeah, it really is, and it's so crazy. Like you can be a songwriter, like, I never really did any of this because I wanted to go on tour. You know what I mean? Like I just wrote the songs because like I just felt kind of like there was a part of me that they just needed to be written. Like it was like cathartic, helping me get through a time in my life or whatever. And it's like I had to really work on becoming a performer, because that was not like my natural state, was to like, look at me, let me get on stage and shine the light on me. You know what I mean? Like it was like a fake it till you make it kind of thing, for sure.
I know a lot of musicians that are amazing, but as soon as they get out in front of people, it's like they're like, no, I'm not interested in that. Like a really hard thing for some people to do.
Yeah, totally. It's wild how many different hats you kind of have to wear if you want to be a musician, like if you want to be a performer. Like granted, there you can be amazing and you don't have to go play shows, you don't have to do that, you know what I mean? But if you want to try to like make any sort of life out of it, it's like you really have to be, I mean, you guys know, just by owning a business and doing the podcast, it's like
you got to put in the work, man.
Yeah, but you got to know how to do graphic design. You got to put together the flyer. You got to be your social media guru. Like, it's pretty wild.
And that shit's like, social media is a pain in the ass to fight through, like algorithms and everything. So
yeah, it's crazy. It's like trying to learn all of this stuff is like the furthest from like what I thought I was gonna. You know what I mean? Like I have
you just wanted to be holding a guitar. And singing.
Yeah, I'm just playing a mandolin and singing harmonies.
Yeah. It's so wild, and like I love it. It's like I'm almost just like hooked on it. I can't not do it. Like I will always be in the studio making songs, like writing, and like I love the kind of producing element, but it's so insane to think about like the amount of hours that I have spent like on the song that you are going to play on your show, or the song that you listen to, the song that's streaming on the radio. It's like 3.5 minutes long, but I have spent so many hours on that song. And then like after you write it, then you have to like take the photos and come up with the artwork, and it's amazing, and it's like you write a song and then it kind of takes on its own life, and it like drags you along with it. Yeah,
and then you got people like messaging you like, all right, where's the next one? Like,
as
if it took you 3 minutes to
yeah, right.
It's so crazy, it's so wild. Like I love it and I hate it at the same time, how much work it really is just to get that 3.5 minute song into your living room, you know what I mean? And like all of the people that are involved in that process, and it's amazing, it's really wild.
Yeah, it's a labor of love for sure.
Yeah, there's no other way you could do it. No way.
Was Gallows Bound your first band, or did you have bands before that?
Oh, it was my first band. I think that was like part of the thing that made it so special, you know, is it was just such an organic experience, and it just happened. Like we, you know, we all grew up together, and then we would like go to a party, go to a bonfire, and you know, we'd all be just like sitting around playing acoustic guitar, because that was like, it was dark and we were in the middle of the woods, you know. and like that's how it started. And it just kind of, and I mean, granted, like I was a tattooer then. I grew up, both of my parents were like self-employed and very driven. And like I remember, like, you know, I was like, okay, like and I booked our first tour. We did this little East Coast run, and like I booked that, and I've totally fell in love with it. And then I was like, all right, like I want to do this, you know. And I remember being in the van and like turning around and looking at the guys and being like, guys, like if you trust me, like if you let me like go for this, like I won't let you down. Like I will take care of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I worked my ass off to, you know, I like got us a booking agent, and like I made sure that we knew everything we needed to know to like go out on tour and not come home in the red. And like from the beginning, we never did, you know. And it was like I already was running a business at that time and was like establishing myself, or I was already established as a tattooer. And so like if I was going to walk away from that career, even if it was just to go on tour for like a month, you know, like I wanted to make sure that I was giving it my all. And like, you know what I mean? That I wasn't like, I was going to go for it. And I wanted to make sure that everybody else in the band who was giving their time to it, like was going to be okay too. You know, I mean, to start a band and go out on the road as a 6-piece, like in the beginning, when you're like not really making much money on shows and trying to survive, like it's brutal, man. Like you really got to be smart about that. And like, there's nothing easy about that.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Yeah. You got to love each other, and you got to love what you're doing. Because if you don't even do it. Don't even try. It's not worth it, you know?
Yeah. And that's like a lot of people and gear to carry around too. And then,
oh my God, it was crazy. I mean, six people, and we would get in like a 15-passenger van with all of our gear. It was like, it was like clown car style. Like we didn't have a trailer. So it was just like all of us and all of our shit, and the upright bass, which is like basically another human being, you know?
It's like
that it won't bend though, and you can't like. That's
Yeah, and it's not like you can just like discreetly cram it in a corner somewhere.
What, the bass?
Yeah, it's like this big body. Like
I feel like you're just eternally damned. Like every time you're like, I think I'm gonna play upright bass, and then the rest of your life you're like, why the fuck did I decide?
Yeah, that's probably why Coffin Cats kept it to a 3-piece. They're like, fuck that, we got my bass. I don't have room for more people in the band.
Yeah, totally. They're great too, like really good people, and they're kind of up in your neck of the woods, right? They're like kind of Detroit based.
Yeah, they're in Detroit, and I've heard rumor that one of the dudes, I think it was Vic, bought like a cabin or something in this area. I don't know if it's true or not. People always say that about everybody.
So
apparently
like,
Bob Seger has one here.
Danny Carey does too somewhere.
There's
cool.
Wasn't there just a Coffin Cats 20th anniversary show or something that just happened?
I am not sure.
I know they were just on tour. I don't know if the 20th anniversary, probably. They've been a band forever. So.
Yeah, they were.
But well, I mean, that's another band. Like, we toured with them. I guess, you know, you guys might have seen us with them. But,
yeah,
I mean, they were really inspired, too, because they were like, they're DIY, you know? Like, they make all their own merch. And, like, I know for a while, I don't know if they're still doing their own booking, but you know, like they were like a self-made kind of band. Like they like did it all, you know? And I remember like we learned a lot from them, you know. We would go out to they had like their, you know, merch shop and everything and we would order our shirts from them, and like, you know, and that's how we did it. Like that was our model. Like Aaron, our bass player, he was a mechanic, you know? And so it's like, if you're like in a band like that, you got to have a mechanic in your band.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Good
like,
guy to have on the road.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. And then like Rob is a photographer, and he does graphic design. He was like a genius at Apple, you know, like that's what he did before we started doing this. And so like he was making our tour posters and like, doing all these like promo photos for us, and like everybody. And then Jesse would do all the merch, and he was like, getting into screen printing, and like we were just like it's like a business, like we were an operation. You know what I mean? And it was just all like DIY, just making it work. So
yeah, there's no like ways around it. It becomes a business either way,
Yeah, totally. It's just the way it is. I mean, you're giving so much of your time and energy into something, and it's the only way to like, yeah, in some ways it has to be like you're saying,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's really cool. And I'm so thankful that like we had all of that time and we got to do all that together, and like all of the like hours that we spent on the road, and it's like it's all kind of translated into like who we are today. And to be able to have that kind of platform to continue making music and like already have that kind of foundation with Gallows Bound is really cool too.
When did Gallows Bound start originally? Was it like 2013-ish?
I think it was actually,
or was it earlier?
I think it was 2011.
Okay.
Because
I remember there's an album before the self-titled one.
Yes.
I don't remember the name of it though.
I think it was called Empty Flask, Empty Heart.
Yep.
And that was the main song on it. And I think I think it's like on Pandora. It's like the only place it actually is online.
And we used to be able to stream it on Apple Music like years ago, but they took it off.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, like I know I don't know if it's anywhere. Like I don't even know if I have it.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was a physical copy ever made of that, because I have multiple physical copies of the other stuff.
There were physical copies, but I don't know if it's like digitally anywhere.
Right.
But yeah, we had CDs of that. We made that. I think that was 2011 or 2000. Like 2011 was when the band first started, and then Ben, his name is Ben. He's a fiddle player, and he was in the Hacksaw Boys, and he had like this little recording set up in a cabin out in the woods in West Virginia, and that's where we made that record. And we were like, we had never been in a studio. We didn't track it to a click. We didn't know anything about tracking it to a click. And then like our self-titled album was made in our friend's house and that wasn't to a click either. Like that was just like, it's just so wild to think about, like those songs kind of took us everywhere, and we just made them, like that record was just made in our friend's house. You know what I mean? Like we didn't even get any studio time until like Appalachian Witch, and that was like our first, we're gonna go into the studio and track this and like, track it to a click and like really do it. It wasn't just like live. And yeah, it's pretty wild, like the evolution of all that.
Yeah, because you guys toured off that for like quite a while.
Oh, we totally did. It was crazy. It was like we did that, and then we just kept going. It was kind of a weird way that the band, I guess, like the way it grew, because we were like busking, and then people kind of started inviting us inside. We're like, okay, cool. So like this is working. And they started inviting us indoors, and then we started playing some shows, and I booked our first like little tour. And then we have my friend Reese, he's a guitar player for this band called Havoc, and they're like a pretty big metal band, like a thrash band.
Yeah.
And we live in the same town, and he was like, and like, I think I tattooed him, and like our parents knew each other. Like it's like small town stuff. But he was like, oh, like, maybe I can like send your music to our manager. And like, even though it's a different genre, like maybe, they would be interested. Like, would you want to do that? And I was like, sure. And so that's kind of how it all started. Like, and then the manager liked it. And like, we worked with him for a little while, and then he got us hooked up with a booking agent. And so we kind of went from like busking and playing like a couple shows here and there locally to like tours. Like we got our first tour with, I think it was with the Tossers. And like, so we didn't really do the whole like building yourself up regionally. We like immediately started touring like across the US, and we just did it. And so it was like kind of a crazy way of doing it. Like instead of taking on your state and playing everywhere in your state and then playing everywhere in your tri-state area, we like took on the
that's
whole
jumping in the deep end for real.
Yeah, we did. And there was fucking like 6 of us, and we were not getting paid very much money, and we're just like, all right, we're gonna do it. But that's, we took the same approach, just applied it to the United States instead of just Virginia. So
Yeah.
it's pretty well.
Sometimes it's best just to risk it and do it and then see what happens.
Yeah, it's like if you get the opportunity, you know what I mean? If somebody's interested and they're like, hey, like, do you want to do this? You gotta sometimes you just gotta take it, And I remember when the booking agent, like when they wanted to work with us and the manager was like, all right, he was like, buckle up. It's about to be a wild ride. And like none of us had ever toured. Like, you know what I mean? Like we were all in the same boat. We were all just like kids from the same hometown. Like, all right, we're going to do this. And he wasn't kidding. It was definitely a wild ride,
I mean, we could probably keep you here like all day talking just continuously about music in general. But do you have anything that you want to say about the single itself or the upcoming album?
Or when you're going to be playing next?
I just want people to check out my single, Passing Ships, and listen to it and share it and just keep an eye out. Because I've got, like I said, I'm going to keep releasing stuff and just just keep an eye out because it's coming. It's all coming. So
one thing I do want to ask before we sign off, which is something that we asked to all the guests on the podcast, just because Jeremy and I are fans of multiple genres of music. We just like always ask people, what is something that you listen to that people wouldn't expect you to listen to?
I love like Otis Redding. I love Otis Redding. I don't know if that's unexpected, but
to some people maybe, but great voice, loves great voice. I fucking love Otis Redding. That's not that
that's
surprising.
Really like anybody would argue with something like that. Like what's I'm trying to think of unexpected. I'm not sure.
Well, we've had people give some of the most random answers. Sometimes people are like, well, I listen to whatever, and people just kind of whatever. But
I think more recently I've been I started listening to like Durant Jones and the Indications, like some kind of this like new wave of soul. I think that's kind of cool.
There's an artist by the name of Leon Bridges. That's a newer soul artist. That's really good.
Yeah, his stuff's really good too. But it's kind of cool, like people bringing back that. Like when music was just made with real instruments and like
like that Motown sound kind of
Stacks.
Stacks or the Philly soul stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe that.
Have you ever listened to a girl named Star Anna?
No.
She's like in your realm of music. I think you'd like her. We actually I have an interview set up with her later in the summer, but she had a Star Anna and the Laughing Dogs. She had a band, and then she did some solo stuff too. That was really good. And
cool.
it's kind of like you can't really define it into one genre. Like there's a bit of punk rock, there's a bit of bluegrass, there's a bit of country. It's a melting pot.
Yeah, it's hard to define.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
But yeah, I don't want to keep you all day, so thank you for jumping on the show and sitting here talking with us about the single. Both of us really enjoyed it, and I'm sure everybody listening will too once they hear it.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it. It was fun. It was cool catching up and just kind of thinking about some old memories and telling stories and stuff. So it was rad. Good times.
Yeah, like I said, I could keep going for a while. I have a bunch of show stories from when I've seen you guys, but there's another time and place for that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like I said, maybe, eventually that record's going to come out, so, and when it does, or if we do a single, I can always hit you guys up and we can get a couple of the guys on and do another thing. Or if I, put out that split with Jake Orbis, we can, I'll just hit you guys up. Like,
that'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah, that would be sweet. You have us on Instagram, and then you can hit up that Instagram or my personal. It doesn't matter.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I will for sure. We'll talk again. So.
And then I'll definitely get in touch with you about the radio station thing. I just have to get that lady's email, but she's in here all the time. So I'll get in touch with you about that.
Cool. Let me know. I would love to, if you need anything else from me, but That email is the one that they're like sending out, you know, kind of all over the place. And it's got a radio edit on it and like the full version of the song. But yeah, that'd be super sick. I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll definitely get in touch.
Cool. And I'm just kind of looking for like, you know, anybody like right now, because I'm just getting this stuff off the ground. So like, if there's any other people that you're cool with that do podcasts that are kind of similar or maybe a little different, or, you know, any people that you think might be interested that I could just kind of help like expand off of this, let me know. You know, I'm all ears. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I definitely will.
Sweet. Cool. All right. Well, thanks you guys. And I'll be on the lookout, and whenever everything comes out, I'll be sharing it on my end too. So
cool. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I'll be talking to you again once I'm getting close to sharing stuff, but it'll be out Monday morning. So.
Okay. Sweet. Awesome.
But all right. Yeah. Thank you again. You have a good night.
All right. You too. See you guys.
Peace.